All right, I want to welcome all of you to our monthly Personhood Florida meeting. We actually have a live stream that we're going to be talking today about a bill that could actually end abortion in the state of Florida. That, if enacted, could really go a long way to protecting human life, not only in the womb, but also human life created out of the womb in laboratories, and then humans, preborn children that survive abortion as well. And this bill that I am referring to is the Equal Equal Protection Act. So this is actually the Equal Protection and Equal Justice Act. And I'm going to switch over to a full screen to bring in Jay Rogers, the president of Personhood Florida Education. I'm Brian Longworth. I'm the president of Personhood Florida. Jay Rogers is the president of Personhood Florida Education. And we also have Wanda Cohn, who's the secretary of both organizations. So we're coming on here. And this bill is really a phenomenal bill. And we're going to present this. I'm going to just give a little bit of an overview. You can actually, and we'll actually include a link to the bill in our analysis here, and in this video when this is all over. But the bill is a 17-page bill. It does change and remove a lot of the current abortion statutes. One of the things with the current abortion statutes is that even though a lot of them have been enacted by pro-life legislation and pro-life legislators, they they the laws that are on the books currently give the right to continue to kill babies in certain circumstances. When, let's say, 24 hours has passed, or there's the mother has been notified, where there's the right to see an ultrasound. Even the 6-week ban does allow abortion all the way up until the moment of birth to protect not only the life of the mother, but also the health of the mother. And so there are a lot of loopholes in the current legislation, in the current laws that are enacted in our state, including removing and reducing the penalties for violating the laws, where in some cases you're looking at a misdemeanor for violating. If you're an abortionist, that would be violating some laws. In some cases, you're looking at committing a misdemeanor. In other cases, a third-degree felony. So what this law does, and it is 17 pages, so we're not going to have really the time to go over all of it. But again, we'll include the link so that you can go over it. It does give various definitions. It lays the groundwork of why we should protect innocent human life, really from our foundational documents, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution of the United States, particularly the Fifth Amendment and the 14th Amendment, that says no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process. And it directly quotes from those. Also, quoting from the preamble of the Constitution of the state of Florida, we the people of the state of Florida, being grateful to God Almighty, and really, we've used that same terminology in some of our personhood language, some of our proposed personhood amendments. So, in order, and it really talks about how we should actually protect and have the right to enjoy and defend all innocent human life. So it really is quoting directly from the Constitution, and also defining the word person. So the word person is something that's very important. It's a legal concept, and it was really big. And when we were looking at the argument of Roe versus Wade, that's one of the things that justices couldn't determine was when a human being is a person, when the fetus becomes a person. And so, there's no question that a preborn child in this mother's womb is actually a human being, but that's scientific. But the question was, is this baby a person? And so this does discuss personhood, and this bill also just really lays out a lot of what is important, and and what it does is it really would say that really abortion would be outlawed. Um, it does give the right for doctors and the permission for doctors to actually work to save a mother's life, as long as they're not purposely killing a preborn child, and as long as they're doing everything within their means to preserve the life of a child. Sometimes it's necessary to actually deliver a baby prematurely, and sometimes in those cases, especially if that's very early in the pregnancy, in some cases the baby will die. But that's not the intent. The intent is not to kill the baby, and really this bill would actually require that medical practices and medical doctors and hospitals and facilities would actually protect the life of preborn children. And so this is something that if the child was born, that they would actually have to protect the life of of the child there as well. So it defines conception, and this is really important because conception has been redefined by the American Medical Association to mean implantation, and which is not conception. Conception, in as defined in this act, would actually be fertilization, and it goes over the technical terms of what that is, and does prohibit abortion as homicide. This goes on and prohibits operating an abortion facility, and lays out punishment for operating an abortion facility, and also makes it unlawful to actually procure an abortion, to perform an abortion, or to assist in procuring an abortion, and lays out specific charges. Lays out also prohibits advertising drugs for abortion that would perform abortion, and even the advertising of those would be prohibited. Prohibits the purchase or sale of drugs for the use of abortion, uh, and it does specifically mention contraception, and actually allows contraception that is really contraceptive in nature, as opposed to abortifacient in nature. And some of the methods of contraception are abortifacient, and some are primarily preventing pregnancy. And so it specifically allows for types of contraception that would not be abortifacient, but prohibits those that are abortifacient. It does also give the Attorney General of the state of Florida the right to monitor the enforcement, and the right to also actually implement the enforcement and actually prosecute. So if you had, let's say, a liberal county prosecutor, or that didn't want to actually prosecute for abortion, that the Attorney General could actually step in and prosecute in that case. It does give the right for the governor to actually remove someone from office if a, let's say, a sheriff or a prosecutor were to fail to or refuse to comply with this act. Does give them, the governor, the right to remove that in person from office. So it does specifically state that it's non-retroactive, retroactive. So in other words, it would be effective when, at the effective date of the bill. It does provide civil actions that could actually happen if there was a case of an abortion. When infants are born alive, it specifically directs that those infants should be protected. And we know that in certain cases, in a lot of cases, infants are born alive and left to die in abortion clinics today. And I actually have a friend, you guys may have heard of her, Gianna Jessen, who actually was born alive in abortion. She was actually supposed to be killed by abortion, but God had other plans for her, and she survived, and a nurse had compassion on her. Well, if enacted, this bill would actually require that medical practitioners actually treat the preborn child that was born in a case of abortion. So, and over it does, state, one of the things it states is that the penalty for violating this statute would actually be the same as if you kill a preborn child in the womb, that the penalty should be the same as if you kill a human being outside the womb. It does specifically prohibit experimentation. So the preborn child that's born and lives outside the womb, maybe even as a result of an abortion, should be protected and their life should not be experimented on. It specifically prohibits freezing human beings as a result of in vitro fertilization. And this is a major issue in our culture today. We actually have thousands, tens of thousands of preborn children. I don't know really the total number, but a large number of preborn children that are actually alive. They're human beings, but they're actually frozen. And in some cases, the parents have already had the children that they want to have, or maybe the parents have died, or one parent has died, or maybe they've split up. And so these children are actually just sitting there in limbo. And so this also does protect not only preborn children that are created in the womb, but also in addition to that, protects preborn children that are maybe created outside of the womb as well. And we know that in the state of Florida, that's a big issue with the research that is going on. How do we know whether scientists are creating human beings in the womb and then experimenting on those same human beings? So I'm going to bring on our panel, Jay Rogers and Wanda Cohn, to have them share their thoughts on this as well.
Okay, so we had.
Go ahead.
Let's go ahead. We had for several years the Florida Personhood Act, which was a bill that we put together. And what I did was I looked at a similar bill in South Carolina called the South Carolina Personhood Act, and a couple of other states, and we put it together. One of the things I found interesting was that the state of Florida actually has very strong pro-life language. It talks about the right to life. It says that our rights are given to us by God, first of all, very explicitly in the Florida Constitution. The U.S. Constitution has a right to life as well, but the Florida Constitution says that our rights are God-given, that we have the right to enjoy and defend the rights that God gave us. So we put that in the language of the bill. And one of the things I found interesting was that during the different hearings that we've had, the 6-week abortion bill that we had, and also the hearing for the it was a called reproductive. Was it Reproductive Freedom Act? The amendment that we had. What was the name of it, Brian? Amendment 2. The name of it was.
Oh yeah, I forget the name of it right now. Maybe Wanda.
Reproductive freedom, I believe it was.
Yeah,
and so a lot of people thought that, well, this is about this is about freedom, and it was Amendment 2. That lost in the state of Florida, even though they outspent us 10-1. But during both of those hearings before the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court made the argument that maybe the people defending life should actually be arguing for personhood.
Yes.
And he actually mentioned that. So one of the good things about getting one of these bills through is we know it's going to be challenged, even though, we don't, even though in the state of Florida, we don't have a privacy anymore because the overturned, right to privacy anymore because the Florida Supreme Court overturned that as relating to abortion. We do have the right to privacy and that the government can't spy on us and that type of thing. That right to privacy amendment was passed back in the 1970s, right after Watergate, when there had been wiretapping and things like that. So it was like a big deal to get a state constitutional amendment saying that the government can't wiretap you and spy on you. But then what the pro-aborts did was they tried to apply it towards abortion the same way they did for Roe v. Wade. And so when that was overturned, the justices that heard the case said that maybe that the pro-life lawyers ought to be arguing for personhood. And they did the same thing during the Amendment 2, which is something that would have allowed virtually all abortion in the state of Florida. So that's one of the things that we're hoping is that it will go through. And one of the things that can happen as a result of it is that not only could it be in law, because a law can always be overturned by the next legislature, but that the Supreme Court itself would say, yes, the Florida Constitution guarantees personhood from the moment of conception, fertilization.
All right. Yeah. So it and definitely could really go a long way to protecting every innocent human life. Obviously, we still have to address the end of life issues, but and I know I've dealt with that with my parents. My mother just recently passed away. Wanda Cohn, has dealt with that with her dad and caring for her mother as well. So we do definitely, and that's one of the things about Person in Florida is we actually do protect. We're working to protect innocent human life from the earliest beginning all the way to natural death. So we are concerned about the disabled. We're concerned about seniors as well. But this bill, if enacted, would actually go a long way to protecting innocent human life in the womb and even human life that's created out of the womb. And again, this could be happening in the state of Florida. So, Wanda, I know you've seen a lot, and you've worked with a lot of women with pregnancy centers, and and you've also seen the hurt that can happen when a woman goes through abortion. And so, speak to how a law that would actually prohibit abortion, what an impact that would have on the psychological health really of women that would not have this abortion in the future.
Yeah. Well, there definitely is a lot of guilt associated with women who have had abortions. When I had an abortion in 1977, had it not been legal, I would not have gotten an abortion. And then there are many other women that would be had made the same decision, not wanting to violate the law. And the law should be good laws. Yes. And that law would be to protect life, all of life. So, I think that, there is a lot of damage to women who have had past abortions. I think a lot of the effects from it are not necessarily apparent to them and that it's traced back to their past abortion. But when you actually take them through post-abortion healing, I've had women even in their 60s and 70s that kind of have an aha moment where they realize different things they struggled with their whole life have actually been because of that decision to take the life of their baby. So I just think we need to, kind of pony up and support life the way that we should, which is 100%. It doesn't make sense to do it any other way. We're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot. People that are pro-life that are willing to make exceptions, and I think we need to be very strict in how we present that as far as to protect all of life. It's the only thing that makes sense, and maybe because we haven't done that in the past is why we haven't gotten any farther than we have. But people are afraid to make that stand. This act, though, would basically do that, and that's why we are behind it.
So to get this actually passed, we're talking about this in a conceptual term, but to get this passed, the bill needs to be sponsored in the House and it needs to be
Right.
sponsored in the Senate, and then it needs to pass committees, and then it needs to go to a vote on the House floor and the Senate floor, and to get that to happen, what needs to happen? Who can speak on what needs to happen in order to get this actually where it can be sponsored and where it can be voted on in committees and where it can be voted on and on the floors as well? So really what needs to happen for that to happen is really what you would need to have happen is you need to actually have representatives in the House and the Senate that would sponsor it. So what we would encourage you to do is contact your representatives and your senators and encourage them to sponsor or co-sponsor this bill. Now there's no sponsor of this bill yet. So just reach out to your representative and your senator and really encourage them. Also, we have the Speaker of the House and the Senate President. Those are really key positions, and that's something that really they need to hear from us, the pro-lifers, that this is important to us. And one of the things that we do see happening is that sometimes there's excuses made. Well, we can't do it this year because of this, or we can't do it next year because of that. We'll do it next year. Then next year comes along and there's something else that prevents them from doing it next year. We really are at a point where we need to protect every innocent human life, and we need someone that will be a champion, that will stand up just like William Wilberforce did, that fought for year after year after year, presenting bills that failed, bills that didn't succeed to abolish the slave trade until he finally succeeded in having that bill passed, and then it was still several years later, you're really even decades later before emancipation happened, and then even after he was dead, before all the slaves were free. And so this is a big process. It's not a process that's quick, but we want to encourage you to actually let your senators know, let your House members know that this is important to you. If they hear from you, that makes a big difference. You pick up the phone and call them. Pick up the phone and call their office. Pick up send an email to them. Send a postcard to them. Let them know. And Jay, I don't know if you could actually share what you were sharing earlier about some of the conversations we've had with some of the representatives in Tallahassee about how they've said, well, we'll do this, this year we've got to work on this, but next year we'll work in.
Well, I think you pretty much said it all. They'll say it's an election year. I've had Republican representatives or a senator tell me that he couldn't support a 6-week bill because he was in a purple district. And he made some excuses. He talked about women being injured by illegal abortions and things like that. But basically what it came down to was he was afraid of not getting elected again. So people are afraid to do it during an election year. And then another excuse might be, well, I'm only allowed certain number of bills that I can sponsor. My slate's already full. It might be that they're working on the budget or something like that. But we do have coming up in February 23rd and 24th. We'll be traveling up there on the 22nd, which is a Sunday night, and Monday and Tuesday. We're going to be in Tallahassee for lobbying.
Yes.
So Person in Florida does do lobbying. And I would like to invite people to come with us. You can contact us and we can set you up with hotel fairly cheaply. you just let us know that you want to go, and we can make it happen. And you'll be able to talk to people one-on-one. We can train you how to do it and so on.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
Pastor Brian, I was just going to ask, can you give them the name of that bill again so they can?
Yes. Yes, certainly. Certainly I will. So, and we'll also reiterate the dates as well. But the name of this bill is the Equal Protection and Equal Justice Act. We will include the link to this bill in our the description of these videos on Facebook and YouTube. We encourage you to share this video with your friends, with those, share it on social media, so that other people can see and know about this as well. And again, encourage your representatives and senators to. This is your state representatives and state senators. This is a Florida bill. This is not a federal bill. It's a Florida bill. So in Tallahassee, you have a Florida House member and a Florida senator, and you can actually actually even go to the Florida House website, the Florida Senate website, and you can find out who that is. They have contact information there. I want to encourage you to contact them to, again, encourage them to sponsor or co-sponsor the Equal Protection and Equal Justice Act. This is important. Also, even if you're not in a Republican district, it's okay. Encourage them to support this, because they need to hear from you there as well. And they may not support it, but they at least will know that there are pro-lifers in their district that care about this. And especially if you live in a conservative Republican district, if you have a Republican House member and senator or senator, encourage them to support this. And again, the Speaker of the House and the Senate President encourage them to really promote the protection of every innocent human life without exception. The dates will be in Tallahassee will be the 23rd and 24th of February. We will be meeting. Personhood Florida actually joins with pro-life pregnancy centers across the state that come and lobby on behalf of life. And we will be educating the representatives on what the work that pro-life pregnancy centers do, as well as we actually break down every single bill that relates to life. We actually analyze it based on biblical principles. We apply God's word to these bills, and we encourage them to actually adopt biblical principles in legislation. This is something, by the way, some people think, well, there's a separation of church and state. You can't do that. Well, you know what? Our country, over half of the signers of the Declaration were actually graduates of Bible school. Many of them were ministers. They were pastors. They were pastors that led their congregations to fight in battle in the Revolutionary War. Signers of the Declaration of Independence. Signers of the Bill of Rights of this country. The Bible was the primary learning book and primary reading book at the founding of this country. So many things that people have been taught really are not true. We do need to apply biblical principles to government, and when we do that, that's when God will bless us. And so we really will be breaking that down. And so I know, Wanda, I hear you wanting to say something there.
Well, I was just going to encourage people, anyone listening and watching, that you don't have to be a speaker to go. We go in groups, so there's usually a couple of people that are the major spokespersons, and then it just seems to flow pretty natural. But I just didn't want people to be afraid that they would be a loner and have to go by themselves to see a representative or a senator. So you would be with a group, and it's an excellent way. The first time I ever went to Tallahassee was with a group like this, and it was very, very educational. These people that you go with know their way around the Capitol, and it's a great way to visit your Capitol, to get to know your legislators, and to realize that you can make an impact on life.
Yeah, everyone's welcome. Also, we want to encourage elderly people to come, young people to come, children to come, parents to come. Bring your kids with you, and and actually participate in this effort. And as Wanda is saying, you don't necessarily have to talk. You can listen and you can learn. But you know what? If you want to talk, there will be an opportunity for you to do so. So
Right.
so you'll have an opportunity. Again, the dates are February 23rd and 24th. We'll be there pretty much all day at the Capitol, both of those days, and we will be lobbying to protect every innocent human life and to encouraging people to defend every innocent human life without exception. And again, educating them on the good work that the pro-life pregnancy centers do as well. And there is a lot of good work. And by the way, when we're up there with, the other side's up there too. I mean, sometimes we're up there when Planned Parenthood is up there. Sometimes we're up there with some other groups that really don't share our values. And it's important for us to actually go out and to stand up and to let our voice be heard and to let people know, let our representatives know that we are working to protect every innocent human life, and we ask them to work to protect every innocent human life as well. So again, February 23rd and 24th, we'll be going up there on the 22nd also, just so we can get a head start, because unless you live real close, it's really advisable to do that. I've tried to do it, tried to make the trip early Monday morning, and it's difficult to get up that early and to, from where I live, it's 5.5 hours, and some people come from further away than that. And I know some people are right around the corner, and definitely if you're right around the corner, we would invite you to join us there. But even if you're coming from Miami, if you're coming from the Keys, if you're coming from the Panhandle, from far away, join us there to work to protect every innocent human life and encourage our legislators to do so. And again, if you can't come, keep us in prayer. Maybe financially support the Ministry of Personhood Florida. You can do that on our website, personhoodfl.com. And you can also send us a message there or comment on our Facebook page or our YouTube channel. The videos that are there. Send us a message on Facebook and ask us how you can get involved. We do have county chapters, and you can be involved in a county chapter. We want to encourage you to do that. So again, our website is personhoodfl.com, and we want to encourage you to be a part of this. And again, to support this bill. This bill is called the Equal Protection and Equal Justice Act. And again, we'll post a link to that in the description of this video here. We want to thank you for joining us here today. For this video. We will be back next week, not next week, but next month. Typically the third Monday of the month, we'll be presenting these videos on different topics. And of course, next month is the month that we remember the Roe versus Wade decision, and we remember all of the children, the millions and millions of children, some 68 million children, preborn children that have been killed by abortion. And just remember that for every one of those babies, there are parents, there are fathers and mothers that have participated in that abortion. And so those are still with us and need our healing. And so we want to pray that God would get a hold of their heart, would convict them of their sins, and would bring them to repentance and set them free from that hurt. So again, I want to encourage you. Again, go to personhoodfl.com, and share these videos so that your friends can know about this as well.